Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the Seeking Clear podcast. Today, I have another great interview for you guys. Today, we're going to be talking to Roman, and I'm going to read off his biography real quick so you guys can get a better understanding of who he is and where he's coming from, and we will start the conversation off. So, Roman is a relationship coach in Toronto, Ontario, Canada. He received training as a coach at Robbins Madonnas, which is Tony Robbins' world-famous coaching program. Before becoming a relationship coach, Roman Mironov ran a small business, a translation agency in Russia. And last year, his lifelong dream of living in North America came true when he moved to Canada. He's been a fan of self-development for more than 10 years after discovering famous authors such as Tony Robbins, Brian Tracy, Jim Rohn, some personal favorites there. One reason he is enthusiastic about it is that he got himself out of mild depression twice by using exclusive self-improvement tools. He's into self-development or self-discipline and subjects himself to all kinds of experiments that could make him more disciplined or perform better. For example, he tested almost every dating or relationship tip you can imagine on himself in his own life. He became a relationship coach because he can't stand seeing people suffer in their relationships where they could easily make them the number one source of fulfillment and happiness. Very, very true. Among other things, he uses lessons learned from his divorce 5 years ago in his practice. Another reason for being a coach is that Roman feels deep love and appreciation for the relationships in his life, and he wants to teach others how to feel the same. For example, he loves his 10-year-old son a lot, and he wants to help people feel the same way about their children rather than struggle with their upbringing. And I can tell you, parenting's not always easy. So with all that being read off, I want to welcome Roman Mironov to the podcast. Thank you so much for coming on and talking with us today.
Thank you, Andrew. My pleasure, really, and a privilege.
Great. So why don't you give us a rundown on your backstory? So I read here in your biography, you recently moved to Canada from Russia. So tell us a little bit about what life was like in Russia and what made you want to move over here.
Well, let's say that the main thing for moving here is to challenge myself in new ways, because back in Russia, I felt like I was, stuck in my comfort zone, very, very deep into my comfort zone. Because, I had a small business, I had a house, I had my relationship, like a romantic relationship. And I didn't really have any motivation to grow at that point. So sometimes even my days were not that productive, although that's like a big value for me. That's my standard, to be productive all the time. So I didn't like that. And moving to Canada was a new challenge for me, definitely. Because for one, I'm here all alone by myself. So I don't have family, I don't have friends that are back in Russia. So that that really creates a lot of discomfort for me as someone who is really, really into relationships, who is like a family person, like yourself, I think.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I can only imagine. My wife and I were actually thinking about moving to the West Coast in a couple years, and we want to move because we love the parks. We live in Ohio, and there are some really nice parks here. There's some nice hiking trails, but out towards Idaho and Oregon, that area, Wyoming, you just can't beat the size and the scale of the parks out there, and it's just beautiful. But one of the things that really makes us kind of hesitate is moving away from all of our relationships, like you said, because all of our family, our friends are here. And when you move out to a new space and you're thousands of miles away from where you're used to being, it can be a real struggle sometimes getting your feet established and building new relationships. And so I totally know where you're coming from. What made you choose Canada? Did you consider the United States ever?
I did. So it was my dream to actually move to the United States because about 20 years ago, I went to the US and I was in Alaska. I was working there during that was a very basic job, but I loved it so much. It was so different from Russia. And so I really fell in love with Alaska, fell in love with the US, with the English language. And that's been my dream. So why Canada? I moved to Canada because it was quite easy.
Was it easier than moving to the US?
Yeah, I didn't have any chance to move to the US, at least that I know of. So
wow.
With Canada, it wasn't exactly like totally easy, but way easier than with the US. Yeah. So, and I'm very, very grateful for the opportunity.
Right. What were you doing in Alaska? Were you like near Anchorage or?
I flew to Anchorage, yeah.
Mhm.
But then there is this huge national park called Denali
Yeah.
with this mountain Denali. So I was working for a company there, serving tourists, washing buses, making box lunches.
Wow. Wow. Yeah, that must be interesting up in Alaska. Alaska is gorgeous, especially during the summer. Um,
Yeah,
it gets pretty harsh during certain times of the year, from what I've been told.
yeah. Like on September, the 1st of September, we had snow.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was fun.
Jeez. So what made you? I know we talked a little bit about it when I read off your biography, but what really made you want to become a relationship coach? Was there a specific moment in your life where you had an experience, or there was a moment where you kind of felt a calling and you knew that you needed to be a coach?
Yeah, I should say that for the most important experience that helped me like shape my values
Mm-hmm.
in terms of relationships, and that created my passion for being a coach was my divorce. I'm a person with strong family values, and I think that family is really at the top of my values. And so when I lost my first marriage, and then the only marriage that was a big aha moment for me, and I realized that this is an experience that I don't want anyone to go through.
Mm-hmm.
Because it was difficult, and especially because we had been together with my ex-wife for 11 years. So,
Wow.
and I'm also, I cling to people very
Yeah,
quickly.
I'm the same way, man. So,
Yeah.
gosh, is divorce as much of a problem in Russia as it is in the United States? Because I know in the U.S., the statistics for marriage is pretty abysmal. Is it the same way over there too?
Right. Yeah. It's the same. It's the same. Although, culturally, it's quite different because, uh, yeah, I know that you're also concerned about this, that men are not that masculine
Mm-hmm.
anymore. And in Russia, it's still more conservative because men are more masculine and women are more feminine. But still, nevertheless, we have the same problem with divorces.
Yeah,
People
yeah,
struggle a lot.
yeah, it's an interesting conversation, and I'm glad you brought up the cultural aspect because I do think, um, and again, I'm not like an anthropologist or anything, but I do think that culture plays a huge role in relationships and social dynamics. And you look at the United States, and it's becoming a very interesting situation. I'm not a person. I don't like to deal in absolutes. I don't like to have super firm opinions because I'm always
Yeah.
open to new ideas. But I look at the gender dynamics in this country, and I'm starting to question if it's working, right? Because it seems like a lot of men, boys in particular, young boys, are kind of being left behind by
Yeah.
society almost. And we're not really sure. I feel like a lot of men just aren't really sure what it means to be a man anymore. And I mean, I can tell you from my personal experience, I'm a millennial, right? I grew up at the beginning of the millennium, and I didn't have a lot of role models. A lot of my friends, their parents were divorced. A lot of them
Yeah.
didn't have dads. You look at celebrities and politicians and world leaders today, and I'll be frank, there's not a lot of inspiration there, right? There's not a lot of
Right.
strong male leadership. And I think masculinity needs a revival. I think there's a lot of people out there and a lot of movements out there that are doing this right now. Some of them are doing it right, some of them are doing it wrong.
Yeah.
But I think masculinity needs to be revived as something that is strong, gentle, nurturing. Men need to find the ability to still lead inside of them, and that doesn't mean making women second class citizens, right? I think women
Exactly.
equal in relationships, they need to be equal in society, equal in the workplace. But I feel like a lot of men just don't feel like they can lead anymore, and they feel kind of neutered almost by the way society treats us. So I'm glad you brought that up because that's always a super interesting conversation. Let's dive into divorce though a little bit since this is your realm of expertise. In your opinion, what are the leading causes of divorce?
Well, the number one reason is that people, I mean, the partners, they fail to meet each other's needs in the relationship.
Right, right.
We have a set of needs, uh, as Tony Robbins teaches, and they are certainty, uncertainty, love, significance, growth, and contribution. So basically, as a partner, as a wife or a husband, or just a partner in a relationship, you need to always be evaluating how you are doing with regard to all these 6 needs.
Right, right.
And because, for example, well, let's say my top need is love, so I want love. But if my partner doesn't give love to me, that relationship is totally failing for me, doesn't work.
Yeah, absolutely. That's something I share with a lot of my coaching clients. I work mostly with entrepreneurs, but I tell them the same thing, because not only do you have a relationship with your friends, with your spouse, with your family, you also have a relationship with your business. And your business is going to have different kinds of values, right? If you really value freedom, for example, working a desk job might not be for you. And if you really value significance, working a job where you don't get to be yourself, maybe you don't get to be on camera, your name doesn't quite get out there, that's not going to fulfill your needs, right? Yeah. And so relationships are the same way. You've got to know, what's important to you, I think. Yeah. And have that clear vision of what you want for your relationship and for your future. And it's both partners' responsibility to keep in touch with those values. So when you're working with your clients, is there a specific process or any type of guidelines that you give them for getting more in touch with their values and helping them kind of figure that out? Because I feel like a lot of people, especially people who are in difficult relationships, a lot of them, they might not know what their values are, and they might not really know what their partner's values are. So do you have like a technique or a system for helping couples establish that with each other?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So first of all, I ask, let's begin with this thing. Actually, it's not that easy to bring in a couple to a session, because usually that's one person coming to me as a coach. So working with couples is most effective, but I don't get that privilege often enough, because there's usually one, and men, they don't like to come for this type of coaching, for example. So that's usually women. Anyway, I ask them to do an evaluation, an assessment of their needs first. So they do it for themselves, and they do it for their partner, or their partner does it. Then we get a baseline. For example, we know that my client has significance as her need, and her husband meets that need at a level of 3 out of 10. So we use it as a baseline. And then we work with, I work with the wife, and ideally with the husband, to make sure that the husband starts to go from 3 to 4 in meeting her need. Yeah. So I use this initial assessment as a baseline, and then go from there, using methods for each need that do work. For example, going along the significance example.
Yeah.
To make your partner significant, you basically just need to acknowledge every little thing about them that's good, every little thing that they do, and make sure, just show them that you're not taking them for granted. And that's it. Yeah, that's the best method.
Yeah, I love that. I think it's the small things, right? It's the little tiny things that you do every day that really stacks up. A lot of people, gosh, again, with the parallels in every other part of life, people do this with their business, they do this with their health and fitness, and they do it with their relationships. They want like something big to just happen and to like fix everything, right? They're always looking for that magic diet pill. They're looking for that perfect workout plan. They're looking for that like one therapy session that's going to make their marriage perfect. And a lot of people, they just don't realize, like, sometimes it's just really small, consistent steps in the right direction. And there's course corrections along the way. Sometimes you make mistakes, but all of those little tiny things, they add up over time. And that's what makes real lasting change. So I really like that. Yeah. And that's how you know you have a good coach. That's how I know you're a good coach, because a lot of people out there who don't know what they're doing, making those bold claims and those big promises, like, we'll fix this, you know, you'll make $100,000 your first month, you'll fix your marriage in a week. Like, it just doesn't work like that. And yeah, so I love that. So let's kind of segueing from the divorce. I don't know if this is going to be your answer to this question, but tell my listeners about the darkest period in your life. I ask everyone who comes on the show this question because no matter who you are, no matter what you're doing, no matter what your goals are, everyone has to fight battles in their life, right? And all of us have fought a couple really hard battles, internal battles, mental battles, real world battles, maybe at your workplace with your boss. We all go through dark periods. And the interesting thing about the people I bring on this show is they have unique skill sets. And a lot of times there's connections between the darkest periods of their life and what they're doing now. And there's usually lessons that they drew from that dark part of their life that is currently helping them. Yeah. So if you could tell my viewers about the darkest period of your life, what happened, what were you struggling with, and what did you eventually learn or change to get you out of that part of your life?
Yeah, well, definitely the period when I divorced was very bad. But there's another like short story that I can tell you.
Sure.
Back in 2018, when I was still in Russia, my testosterone levels dropped drastically. And there were different reasons. And one big reason was that I over-exercised myself. I started running. Mm-hmm. And I even like had dreams of running an Ironman. Well, like you are.
Yeah, that's one of my dreams. Hopefully, hopefully I can learn from your mistakes.
Right, exactly. So I was running four times every week, and I was doing, I think, about maybe 7 miles on weekdays, and then I did about 13 to 15 miles on Sunday. So I was getting exhausted, and suddenly my energy levels dropped, and I started to feel muscle cramping all the time, and I also lost a lot of weight, obviously. Yeah, so I was actually about 200 pounds, I believe, before that started, and then I went to 175.
Wow, yeah, that's significant.
It was, yeah. People were saying that I look very different. I'm very skinny. Yeah, they were, they thought that I could have an illness, maybe something terminal.
Yeah. I mean, it can seem that way sometimes.
So, and when my energy levels dropped, everything felt difficult. And so it was a struggle. And the main lesson that I got from that was the reframe that I used. I kept telling myself that if I can do this now, like a difficult thing, a challenging thing now, when I have when my energy is low, I will, my discipline will improve so much that when I'm back to my normal energy levels, it feels so easy. So I was looking at this whole thing as, training myself, improving my self-discipline.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I love that so much. That sounds like Stoicism to me. Are you familiar with Stoic philosophy at all?
Yeah,
that sounds a lot like Stoicism, and that is a very powerful reframe. So everyone who's listening, I recommend you write this down or you code it in your brain, because what you just said is super, super powerful. When you're going through something difficult, when there's a struggle in your life, when there's an obstacle, maybe you're in debt, maybe you're 100 pounds overweight and you're trying to get in shape. Maybe you're 29 and you've never had a girlfriend and you want to get a wife and a family, right? No matter what it is, maybe you're trying to get a promotion. If it's hard, if it's difficult, if it's making you feel bad about yourself, if you're anxious, you're depressed, you're stressed, all of that, all of the weight that is pushing down on you and all the obstacles that are holding you back, it's like training. It's training you. And if you can manage to succeed, if you can manage to operate in that kind of environment, you will get improvement, right? You will start to make progress. And the more progress you make, the easier things get. I always say it like this. Nothing in life ever gets easier. You just get stronger.
Right.
Yeah. And when you're, I mean, when I was like $20,000 in credit card debt and I was trying to start my first business, I had a newborn baby. I was depressed. I had low energy. My wife was working 14-hour days at the vet clinic. She was coming home stressed. She hated her job. It was awful. It was awful. I felt like I was in a terrible place. And there were days when I didn't want to do anything. I didn't feel like I had the energy to do it. But I did what you did. And I said, look, if I can deal with this right now, it will get easier. And when it gets easier, I can do even more because I can learn about myself right now.
Yeah.
And that's such a powerful lesson. I love that. Thanks for sharing that. So let's talk a little bit more about relationship coaching. So my viewers are probably watching this episode because I probably used a really catchy headline and the thumbnail's probably awesome, but it probably says something about fixing relationships or fixing marriages. So what are your most powerful, like if you could pick 1 to 3 things to tell my viewers that would improve their relationships like today or this week, what would they be? What's your most powerful advice, you think?
Yeah, so the first one would be the advice about the needs. So understand the needs of your partner.
Yeah, learn about
and
the
then,
values.
Yeah, and work on meeting them at a higher level.
Mm-hmm.
So that would be the first one. The second one is practice gratitude. So be grateful for having that person in your life. Never take them for granted. And the third one would be, which is quite close to gratitude, be accepting. Accept your partner with all their flaws.
Mm-hmm.
Because there are, I don't believe in flaws. There are just differences. We're all different because reality is subjective.
Preach. So true. So true. Yeah. Gratitude's powerful. Do you have a particular exercise you use in your life for gratitude? I know lots of people, they like do gratitude journaling. Some people do like gratitude meditations. I just like to, whenever I'm feeling stressed, I'll just stop and think about like what I'm thankful for, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because even when I'm feeling bad about my life, I know I have an office, I have a business, I have a beautiful family. Like it's easy. Do you have a little technique that you use to do gratitude in your life?
Yeah, I use 2 techniques. So every morning when I wake up, I go through my big list of things that I'm grateful for.
Mm-hmm.
So to remind myself of things that I, tend to take for granted. That's easy. And during the day, I write down at least 3 good things that happened today.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it helps a lot. And this is a thing that a lot of people talk about now. Yeah, 3 good things. And what I like about it most is that I keep, I keep looking for things to be positive about, to be grateful for. So, and that puts me into a positive mindset.
Right. I was in Nashville a few weeks ago at Funnel Hacking Live, and we talked about this in our email correspondence.
Yeah.
But Tony Robbins was there, or maybe it was YouTube comments. I told you this somewhere, but Tony Robbins was there, and he spoke on the very last day, and he talked about stacking. And he said that what a lot of people do is they tend to stack their problems, right? Mm-hmm. So like, I'm in debt, my marriage is failing, I don't like my job, and they stack their problems, and their brain kind of gets in this cycle. With my clients, I kind of call that a negative feedback loop. But I like the way he worded it better almost. And he says that instead you should be stacking everything that's good, right? Because people, it's almost like we have this bias in our ego where we really want to focus on what's wrong, because in order to be a perfectionist, we have to eliminate the flaws. The things that are good, that's great. Just put it in the back for now, forget about it. It's not important. Yeah. Only think about the things that are bad. but it's such an ineffective strategy for self-development. So it really pays to pay attention to the things that are good. And that can be gratitude. It can be appreciation. It can be journaling or meditation. But if you take everything that's good and you build a really tall stack, whenever you start building a bad stack, it doesn't measure up, right? And so I like that strategy a lot. So, gosh, we've covered a lot. What do you think is the most important life lesson you've learned so far? It could be in relation to anything. What's the biggest takeaway from your, how old are you?
37.
Okay, so you're 37 years of life. What do you think is one of the most important things you've learned so far? It's a tough question, so take your time.
Yeah. I should say that you never know. You never know yourself. Let me put it this way. I think it's important to be discovering yourself, discovering your own values all the time, because they might change, or maybe the values have always been there, but you just didn't realize that you had those values. So the idea is to walk your path, even if it has a lot of discomfort, it has a lot of challenges, and to understand that one reason you're walking this path is to understand yourself, to discover or rediscover your deep values.
Right.
That could be a lesson. Yeah.
That is a lesson. That's absolutely a lesson. Yeah. I'm processing that because that's profound. I can definitely tell you that if I hadn't made some of the biggest mistakes I've made in my life, I wouldn't be as good as I am today.
Definitely.
Right? Because even when you make big mistakes and things aren't that great and it's uncomfortable, you're still getting data, right? And if you look at science, the way scientists go through the scientific method when they're testing math or physics or whatever have you, most of the experiments return with a null hypothesis, which means the experiment didn't work. They didn't prove anything, but they found one more thing that didn't work.
Yeah.
And that narrows down the focus. Like everyone always talks about Thomas Edison, right? Invented the light bulb.
Exactly.
And he tried 10,000 different types of bulbs before he found the one that worked.
Yeah.
And people don't like that analogy, probably because it's trite, but also because it seems daunting. They're like, oh, I have to try 10,000 things before I find the one that works. And it's like, well, no, not necessarily, but also yes. And you can do it a lot quicker than you think, right? Because we're not trying to make light bulbs, right? A lot of us are just trying to fix our relationship. We're trying to get healthy. We're trying to make a little more money. And life is just a giant sequence of experiments, isn't it?
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about your business. Tell my viewers what kind of clients you're looking for, what kind of problems you help solve. And fill us in on that first.
So mostly I work with clients who want to save a relationship, because that's the scenario that usually happens, because when the relationship is great, especially when it just started, when people have newness in the relationship, everything is great, right?
Yeah.
But it's only when they create a snowball of problems is when they want to get help. And usually it's quite late. It's quite late for women, but men, they wait until the very last moment. Normally when their wife already wants to file for divorce. So that's
isn't it? We were talking about gender dynamics at the beginning of this talk. Isn't that kind of funny how women tend to be more intuitive and they seem to have more common sense about a lot of things, and men put things off. So you typically get a lot of, it sounds like married individuals who want to save their marriage. So you usually have one person from a couple coming to you, saying, "Hey, there's problems and I need help." Correct?
That's right. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
And also, men don't like to ask for help. That's another reason.
Mm-hmm. And that I feel like is a stigma from an older definition of masculinity that probably needs to die off, right? Because there's a lot of people out there who are like, bring back masculinity, and it's like, well, let's bring it back, but let's also make some very much needed changes.
Right.
So I think that's awesome that we're talking about that, because a lot of men need to hear that, and they need to know, like, if you're listening to this right now and you're having problems with your wife and your marriage isn't that great, maybe you feel estranged from your children or something, it's okay to ask for help. And there are people like Roman who are experts in this field, who know exactly what to do, who've worked with tons of clients before, who will listen to you. And there's no judgment, there's no shame. Like, that's called being a man. That's called stepping up and taking responsibility for your life and trying to make things better. That's a huge part of what it means to be a man, in my opinion, is taking responsibility. And sometimes you gotta ask for help. You're not Superman. I'm not. Roman's not.
Yeah.
So if I have people listening who would like to work with you, where can they follow you, like on social media, and where can they connect with you to learn more?
Yeah, my website is www.romanmironov.com. And from there, you can check out all my social media. I'll have a podcast. I have a YouTube channel with the relationship advice.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
Subscribe to the channel. It's good content. They're nice, succinct videos where he gives concise advice about a specific topic. Highly recommend checking it out.
Yeah, thank you.
Awesome. All right. Well, I will put all of your relevant links in the description. If you're watching this on YouTube, I'll put it in the pinned comment so that you guys can find Roman. And is there anything you'd like to say in closing, my friend?
First of all, thank you for the privilege, because
absolutely.
Because I like your work a lot.
Thank you.
Especially because your philosophy is quite similar to mine. Stoicism and all. Yeah, we have a lot of similarities. That's why I love your work. And I also, seriously, I feel like you are a role model for me in many respects.
Thank you.
And definitely one of them is that you have a great family. And you're a family man. Yeah.
I'm glad I can serve and inspire. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for coming on today. That was Roman Mironov, ladies and gentlemen. I'll make sure his links are in the description, so go ahead and check out his content. And if you're interested in listening to any other episodes of the podcast, I'll put some links to the playlist in the description so you can check those out. And we will see you guys in the next episode. Keep seeking clear. Thank you so much for watching this episode of the Seeking Clear podcast. I truly hope you enjoyed it. If you enjoyed this podcast and you want more of it, you can watch it on the YouTube channel over at Andrew Wuellner, and you can also listen to it on the major podcasting platforms, anywhere podcasts are found. You can support the channel by subscribing to the YouTube channel, downloading it, sharing it, showing it to your friends. All of that is greatly appreciated. I love the support. It shows me that you guys are getting something from this podcast, and I will continue to do it as long as that is the case. But if subscribing or sharing doesn't feel like enough for you and you want to do more to support the channel, you can go to my website, andrewwuellner.com, and check out what I do, what I offer, see if you might be a good fit for one of my coaching programs or my courses. And you can also go to andrewwuellner.com/resources to see all of my special offers. On this page, I have links that will take you to some of my favorite products and services that I personally use, that I personally love, and I would highly recommend you guys use in your lives to help you improve your quality of life or your quality of business. For example, if you are an entrepreneur or a business owner who sells a service or a product online, you need to be using sales funnels. And if you're using sales funnels, you need to be using ClickFunnels, because ClickFunnels allows you to build the largest number of high quality funnels. You can build websites, membership sites, webinars, VSLs, opt-in pages. All of it's possible, and it integrates with all of your favorite technology, your payment processors, your autoresponders, Zapier, everything. The customer service is second to none, and ClickFunnels has a perfect track record of being an amazing software. In fact, my entire website, andrewwuellner.com, is built on ClickFunnels. So if you want to see what it can do, just look around my website. I've used just about every integration that's possible. But if you go to andrewwuellner.com/resources, you will see a link for a free 14-day trial of ClickFunnels. If you join using my link, it supports me, it supports the channel, and I will also support you by sending you free to download my very best templates from my own marketing campaigns, including webinar funnels, homepage funnels, and opt-in lead generation funnels. I will also give you a free 5 to 10 minute video audit of your website and funnels when they're done. This is normally something I only do with my one-to-one paying clients. But if you use my affiliate link, you build some funnels, you build your website, all you have to do is email me, send me the link. I will see that you are one of my affiliates, and I will check out your branding, your copywriting. I'll look at your funnel, I'll look at your website, and I will film a video and send it back to you and let you know exactly what I think, what you can improve, what I love. And I will do everything I can to support you and your online business because you guys are supporting me and I appreciate you that much. So please subscribe to the channel. Thank you so much for sharing, for watching this podcast. Go to andrewwuellner.com/resources to see more ways that you can help support me and improve your own life. And I will see you guys in the next episode of the Seeking Clear podcast. Take care.